Hi, this is Shadi, and today we're going to be talking about World War One and World War Two Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, and talk about how they found these particular disciplines to be effective, and also the aspect of self-defense. We often talk about self-defense courses along Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, like Kime no Kata, Goshin Jutsu no Kata, the self-defense that the Valente brothers do, the self-defense that Hicks and Gracie stresses and Helio Gracie stresses. So I'm going to talk about them in the context of war, because here we cannot say, give him your wallet or run away or etc. Here you have to defend. This is war. So I believe that self-defense courses do offer a lot of value under the condition that you practice them as frequently as you do Randori and Uchikomi. But we'll get to that. But before that, I'm going to talk about Captain Allan Smith. He is the fifth Caucasian to be ever granted a black belt from the Kodokan. Black belt in Judo, and the first ever to be granted as a Caucasian a black belt in the Kodokan. And he is the author of the book Secrets of Jujitsu, a complete course in self-defense, published in 1920. And because I love my audience, I will put a copy of the book in PDF format in the description below for you to check it out. So Allan Korstorffen Smith was a pioneer in Judo in the West, particularly in the US Army. He is the one you are watching in front of you in World War I Jiu-Jitsu training. Like I said, he is the fifth Caucasian and the first Scots to have been graded Shodan at the Kodokan. He lived in Scotland the first 17 years of his life. If you want to read more about him, of course, I will leave a link in the description so you can read more. So he was actually a very skilled boxer before getting into Jiu-Jitsu in the UK. So he decided to challenge a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu expert, but he actually lost, and he was actually very impressed by the very small Japanese that dealt with larger opponent, and this gave him a very good interest in Jiu-Jitsu. So keep in mind, this is at the turn of the century. So Jiu-Jitsu, through people like Sadakazu Uyenishi, Yataro Handa School of Jiu-Jitsu, Gunjiko Izomi, Yukio Tani, Taro Miyake, all these people were already there in the UK and spreading their books, which I've discussed and shared multiple times. So he could have started learning before even going to Japan. So 1908, Smith arrived to Japan, and he wanted to go to Tokyo, but he was stuck in Yokoyama and he couldn't find a way to travel. So he opened up a dojo of his own and started teaching mainly foreigners, but he started to catch the attention of many people, like his third Dan judoka and friend, the Sato, and also he was actually visited by Kyuzo Mifune, who was actually fifth Dan at the time. And so this was around 1912, because Kyuzo Mifune was still a fifth Dan at the time. So he actually published two books in 1915 called Little Lessons in Japanese. And in 1916, he received his Shodan at the Kodokan. And 4 years later, in 1920, he published his own book, The Secret of Jujitsu. So this is mainly Captain Allan Smith, the pioneer. Here you see World War II. It's called Judo. It wasn't called Jujitsu because at the time, after the 1920s, the term Judo became more official. So here you see, this is the British Royal Navy training Jiu-Jitsu and demonstrating it. I'll leave a link in the description for the full video. So here he is demonstrating vital points, how to strike them very efficiently and very rapidly. So when it comes to self-defense, this is war. You cannot say, give your wallet, give your phone, and then go back home and cancel your credit card. One of these men have to die. So when it comes to stuff like training, a knife, or the gun, these soldiers knew that they were going to die. So they would risk everything to fight. Their survival instinct was through the roof. They would try the wrist twist, they would try the seoinage, they would try the hip tosses, they would try everything to disarm and really engage aggressively. Here, this man, he says that the best form of defense is attack. So kind of like the you see today people like the Israelis talk about their Krav Maga. They say that the best form of defense is offense. This is where they actually got it from. This is not something new. So when you put the aggressor under pressure, you will have a far more likelihood to survive. But doing like those wrist locks, like 1, 2, 3, disarm and then disengage, like you see in those very formal self-defense type of demonstrations, then yeah, they won't work. And also another reason why they don't work is that the aggressor is not engaging in kata form, at least, like they leave their hands sticking out. There's no, I believe, in my opinion, that there should be a self-defense randori, so to speak, or sparring. You know, you have like drills of knife striking, and then you do them in a freestyle, and you'd have to combine all the techniques. For example, if the striking is coming from the pocket, you know what to do. If it's coming from a straight jab or like a haymaker knife or whatever, and then you do randori, where you know the aggressor is trying to do everything. You're gonna get cut for sure, but try to expose stuff that are not as vital. For example, the outer wrist, the outer forearm, rather than the inside of the forearm. Here you see that they are doing the self-defense that you see Hickson do, etc. The stuff that we say, oh, they will not work, but trust me, practice long enough, they do work. This is what I believe. And when it comes to making them efficient, a lot of these clubs today are focusing solely on sports and going to competition, but self-defense, it should be done at least twice a week with self-defense randori, very similar to how we do, you know, uchikomi, the exercises that the sensei shows, and then later on we do randori, similar in BJJ, the drills, and then we roll. So self-defense, these techniques, they do work, but their approach is either lagging due to lack of training, or it's lagging due to not training them efficiently and not doing randori, like I said. So World War II, you have arguably the most bloodiest wars in human history, where people were racing to create the most damaging weapons. So I would assume they were doing the same thing when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. And surprise, surprise, judo and jujitsu were both the weapon of choice. So when it comes to self-defense, they are as efficient as in street fights, as in war as well. But like I said, the training methodology is what's most important. Like we say in Aikido, the techniques work, but the training methodology fails. And self-defense courses, whether it is Krav Maga or these jujitsu based self-defense, fail because of lack of sparring. So I believe that there should be, you know, self-defense randori, just like we do regular randori, with of course specific rules, like barely any crotch striking, or at least wear a cup, no eye gouging, no biting, you know, keep it safe, mainly weapon and strike oriented. If like the strongest militaries in the world, like the US and the UK, did them, I believe that they should work just fine. Just have to find a training methodology around them. Now obviously I'm not the best to do that, but I believe that 4th, 5th Dan, people who work in the police, the army, would know exactly what to do. So don't get me wrong, it does exist, you know, functional self-defense training. I'm sure if you enlist in the police or the army, they still train you that, but I'm talking about these suburban clubs that train self-defense, is what causing danger and causing a bad reputation to self-defense drills. So if you have anything else to add, let me know down below. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. I have exclusive content for the patrons only. A few videos are already up for the patrons. For those who are patrons and don't know, you can go check your Patreon. There are already a few uploads that are there. So if you have anything else to add, let me know down below. This was Shadi, and As always, thank you for listening.
Black clamps his opponent's hand to his own head, turns, and with the hand still grasping, raises his head. And see what happens to White. Why doesn't White kick him?
I bloody well can't.
These grips and holds, which you've seen demonstrated, prevent your opponent from renewing his attack, and as you've seen, puts him at your mercy. And show no mercy. A most vicious and effective form of attack is kicking. And here again I want you to remember that the best form of defense is attack. When your opponent kicks at you, kick his leg like this, with the cutting edge of your boot against his shin. The harder he kicks, the more effective is the counterattack. You can throw your opponent when he kicks, and as he falls, kick him. The spine is the best spot. You may break it. If you miss his spine, you'll get one of his kidneys. For the purposes of demonstration, Black up till now has had it nearly all his own way. Now we'll see what White does to Black. They will demonstrate releases from and counters to body holds. Again in slow movement, Black attacks, grapples White round the body, White drops, grabs Black in the crutch, Black doubles up in pain, White knees him in the face. Again Black attacks, but he's missed his arms, and see how White uses them. Behind the ears is the mastoid process. Pressing inward and upward causes excruciating agony. Black is feeling it. Up goes his head. White ups with his knee and strikes him in the crutch. Black seizes him round the waist. White's arms are free, but he can't get at both of Black's ears, so he pulls his hair with one hand and presses Black's face with his other hand and fingers, gouging his eyes, at the same time twisting his head round and placing his right arm under his throat. With his left hand at the back of his head, he gets him into a stranglehold from which there is no escape. Now White is attacked from the rear. Did you see how it was done? No? Well, watch Black and White go through the movements and practice it yourselves. Black attacks White. White rounds his shoulders, forces his arms outwards and drops down. This partially loosens Black's hold. He turns his body and places one leg behind Black's. Black is at his mercy. It's an easy matter for White to swing him over his body. He goes in to kill. Another method. White rounds his shoulders, drops his body, grabs Black's arms over his shoulders and throws him over his head. Should you be held from the rear and your hands are free, lock the elbow of your opponent's free hand. Grasp his free hand, bend his wrist, break it. This will leave you free to attack. This time, Black has interlocked his fingers. It's a good hold. White grasps the wrist. With the other hand, fingers extended, he forces Black's fingers back, and in this position can break them. He's broken them, turns and knees him in the crutch. Men in mortal combat are like animals, and like animals, they'll fly at the throat. It's so instinctive in animals that you're bound to meet this form of attack. Now, White will show you how to release yourself from strangleholds. If your opponent grasps your throat from the front, strike at his crutch. With the other arm, deliver a forearm punch across his arms to break his grip. Follow up with knee in groin, and if necessary, any other opening. Another method. The thumb is the weakest part of the grip. Reach over and above your opponent's arms, grasp his hand with your left. Using your right hand, force his hand upward and over. Break his grip, bend his wrist, force him down and kick. This time, White grasps Black's throat. Black seizes White's wrist with his left hand. He swings his right arm over and breaks the grip. He steps across with his right foot so that White's arms are dropped close to his body. His left hip is close to White's. He turns, pulls vigorously, and throws him. Locks his arm, breaks the elbow, and uses his own elbow on White's neck. Gets to his feet quickly and kicks. White attacks Black from the rear. Black grips his right wrist with his left hand. With right arm locks his elbow, bends his knees, keeping his back straight, turns and throws him on his back. He follows up with any attack. Now, White is trying to strangle him with his arms. Black bends his knees, grips White's forearms, pulls, turns his head, bends the trunk forward, and over he goes. Again he attacks. This time, Black grasps wrist and elbow of one arm, forces the elbow upward and the wrist downward, turns his body, slides through the hollow of his side, forces his arm up his back, and strikes across his neck. Up to now, you've seen hand-to-hand fighting without any kind of weapon being used. But you must be prepared. Before you can close with your opponent, he may grab a club, a piece of iron, anything which might give him an advantage over you. Here are some improvised weapons of modern warfare. A club, an iron pipe. A chain makes a nasty mess when you swing it the right way. Barbed wire, nearly always at hand, is very effective. Tears a man's throat and throttles him. This is how to use the wire cheese cutter. Silent, swift, and sure. You can cut a man's throat before he can say Heil. Your own equipment and clothing provide weapons. The steel helmet. Your sock filled with sand. Necktie for throttling or gagging. Even a bootlace will throttle a man. A broken bottle. You all know how this is used. You never need be weaponless, but you must learn how to use any improvised weapon which may be near to hand.
Well, Mac, take your pick. I think I can get you with this. You do? Right. Give me that steel helmet. Yeah. Come on then, let's have a go.
As Black rushes in, White ducks underneath his arm, passes one arm across Black's chest, grasps the opposite shoulder, steps behind, and with his free hand grasps his own wrist and throws his opponent back over his shoulder. Goes in and finishes him off. When your opponent swings a weapon at you, meet him by diving low and striking with your forearm at the groin of his leading leg, grasping his ankle with your other hand. Push forward with the forearm and pull upward at the ankle to throw him. Get the weapon and use it. Every one of you must learn how to attack and defend yourself. Now, Black and White are experts, but you must become expert too. Your life depends on it. Here, Smith. And you, Crowther, have a go.
Me, sir?
Yes, you've seen it done. Now, come on. Have a go. Very good, sir. Go on, Smith, have a go. Kill him. Practice makes for perfection. Keep on having a go, and you'll learn. Now see how it's done. When you're attacked by a knife or bayonet, you must first stop the blade. White attacks the upper part of the body. Black blocks the thrust by striking upward with his forearm across White's forearm, stepping slightly to the side. He reaches under his upper arm, grasping his own wrist in the elbow lock. See how Black's forearm gives him the leverage to break White's arm. He forces him down, grabs the knife, and strikes. A blow aimed at the top part of the body can be blocked. A blow aimed at the lower part of the body must be parried. To counter an attack on the stomach, Black uses a circular movement of the arm downward and outward, strikes at White's forearm. At the same time, he draws himself well back, grabs White's elbow, keeping his own arm on the forearm of his opponent. Now he forces White's elbow outward and pushes his arm up his back, takes the knife and strikes. All the movements, holds and throws you've seen can be done just as effectively when your opponent is fully armed and you are unarmed but in uniform. To demonstrate, Gray is putting on a German soldier's uniform. White is now in airman's uniform. The possibility of being caught unarmed by an armed opponent must never be overlooked. Your everyday routine duty as an airman makes this possibility almost a certainty. Remember, whether you are armed or unarmed, attack. Unarmed White will tackle the sentry from the rear. White's attack must be silent, swift, and ruthless. Watch the movement. White runs at Gray. Applies stranglehold with left-handed throat. This stops him yelling. The kick paralyzes the muscles and gets him off his balance. Now the spine is the target. That will disable him. Gray is out. Finish him off with a kick in the back and grab the rifle. Another attack. White grabs the helmet. Now he's in a position to use it. Kicks Gray's leg, paralyzes the muscles, pulls him down and knees him in the spine. Gray, strangled by his chin strap, drops to the ground. White grabs his rifle and finishes him. How to tackle a sentry in a bayonet hold-up. White runs up behind, kicks sentry's leg away. He falls. Black dashes in, seizes the rifle and strikes. Quite simple, isn't it? To save your friend and defend yourself by attacking. An alternative method. White kicks him off balance. The secret of all disarming movements is the parry, which can be done with either the left forearm or the right hand. Gray attacks with the point. White parries with his left forearm. Now Gray thrusts at his belly, Again, White parries the blow with his left arm. Now the right hand parry. Gray attacks, White parries with his right hand. Gray attacks. White parries with the left forearm, defeats the attack, puts Gray off his balance. Now see the result of White's aggressive attitude, his coolness, and his training. As you see, as soon as the weapon was parried, it became unarmed fighting. White has fallen. Gray is attacking him on the ground. White rolls away from the point. Before Gray can strike again, he rolls towards the weapon, sweeping the bayonet away, kicks hard at Gray's forward leg to throw him off balance, and attacks him. Disarming and disabling movements after a parry. This kick, with the cutting edge of a service boot, will break a man's shin. The effect is to double up Gray's body, bringing his neck into a position where White can chop it with the cutting edge of his hand, breaking his neck, or at least stunning him. He picks the rifle up to make sure and finishes him off. Necessary to learn so many methods. I'll tell you. You'll never meet the same situation twice. Every one will call for prompt action, will demand its own solution. White will think aloud, but you know how fast you can think when it comes to the real thing.
Missed him. Get him off. Here. Got him. Got it.
Through practice, these movements become automatic and are done instinctively. This is the forearm blow. Here's another disabling movement. White parries. Gray, carried by his own impetus, lands on White's arm and is thrown. And now, how to counterattack against strokes from the butt of a rifle. Simple, isn't it? If you've got the guts to stand up to it. White simply helps the butt of his opponent's rifle round, gives him a chin jab, kicks his leg, and throws him. Here is another counter for attack at head. Counter for butt stroke at belly. As the butt comes towards the stomach, swing it up. Keep his arm above your head. Give him a good blow in the face with your other hand and knee him in the crutch. Throw him and kill him. Defense against a slash. Gray makes a butt stroke which misses. Returns with a slash to head. White blocks the slash with his forearm, grabs the rifle with his right hand, knees Gray in the crutch, and that's the end of that. Counter-attack for charge. When your opponent rushes at you, concentrate on the parry, and as he rushes past, trip him up and go for him. Now a rugger tackle. After parrying, White crouches down, rams his shoulders into Gray's crutch, throws him over his head. goes in and finishes him. And now, a belly throw. This time, in slow motion, White grabs Gray's clothing, forces his right foot into Gray's stomach, gets down on his back, rolls backward, straightens his leg, and over he goes. That's it. Finish him off. Do it again, White, at usual speed. Another effective counterattack. When opponent leads with right foot, you can kick him in the crotch. Counterattack against revolver hold-up. When held up incorrectly like this, strike downward and outward with left hand, knocking the revolver clear. Attack him, an arm lock, grab the gun, use it. If you're held up from the rear, turn quickly, left about, strike downward and outward with the left arm, close with your opponent, disable him, grab the weapon, and use it. You may have to search a prisoner. This is a good way to do it. From the on-guard position, White passes his right hand through the sling, grasps the rifle at the nose cap. This allows the rifle to reverse itself and hang by the sling, which is across the right forearm. In this position, the rifle can be handled easily, and the left hand is free for searching. Ah, he's found some concealed weapons. There are many ways of marching in a prisoner. Here is one way. If you are being marched in at the point of a bayonet from the rear, so that the point is within striking distance, pivot round quickly to the left, knocking the blade aside with the left forearm, and kick hard with the right foot at your opponent's leg. As he falls, attack him. This is the best way. Keep a safe distance from him. Cover him slightly from the flank. This prevents you from being surprised. Officers, warrant officers, non-commissioned officers, and men of the Royal Air Force. Now you have seen how the individual self-discipline and physical fitness, so necessary and so evident in the training, are applied with confident and aggressive ability and with inevitable success. Now, this kind of fighting is going on all over the world today, and it may happen to you. Instructors will give you all the experience and knowledge they have. You must play your part. Persevere. Practice whenever you can. The time for training and practice must be found. Remember, get fit, keep fit. Your own physical fitness and the aggressive confidence born of it are duties you owe to yourself and your country. Which is it to be? This? Or this? That? Or that? Him or you?